What is going on, Lucid fans? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So Lucid did go down 4.27% today. I want to go over some of the data points, the technicals, and give you a good breakdown of why Lucid truly did go down. So I'm going to go over all that. Make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And with that said, let's get right to it. After hours, it is going up a little bit, but of course, very little volume as you can tell. So after hours is a little bit more of the Wild West. But today there was just a lot of selling pressure, not necessarily just on Lucid, but the broader market, largely because of good old Powell. So he did indicate that there might be some rate hikes coming in the future, two more specifically. And of course, when it comes down to the market, they absolutely hate unexpected surprises such as this. But at the time of doing this video, there is no recent press releases, no SEC filings, nothing along those lines. So when it comes down to Lucid, though, there's one thing that's been really coming out quite heavily that's been very much benefiting Tesla, and that's their whole, I guess, charging alliance, or whatever you want to call it, where GM has joined, Ford has joined, and more recently, Rivian. But when it comes down to Lucid, a lot of people want to know, is that even technically going to work? Is Elon going to hold a little bit more of a grudge against Lucid? Because in general, it kind of looks like they are moving in kind of a unisync movement, whereas Lucid, even though they have phenomenal technology, it has kind of proven, unfortunately, that management has made a lot of wrong decisions in the past. So whether they are going to join, obviously, that new alliance, or kind of be very prideful and just do their own thing, I think that is where a lot of investors and people are kind of seeing Lucid as not necessarily making the most wisest decisions. Because even though some people say that Lucid has no competition, some people say that they do, I personally feel at this day and age that Lucid would very much benefit from joining that alliance. So in general, if that news does come out, I feel that would benefit Lucid greatly, especially as far as the stock price. So in reality, I do feel a lot of those things are currently affecting the stock price and just at the back of people's minds. So once again, let me know you guys' thoughts on that. When it comes down to shorts, I will give you guys a quick update on shorts. Right now, short score is currently 79. Utilization is 89.75%. And looking right here, so shorts did surprisingly return some shares, so 228.68 thousand shares. Of course, them returning on a red day kind of does show that they feel that it's a little bit unjustified. So like I mentioned, I feel that even though the whole Powell scenario is a little bit more of a surprise, I think it is, and what happened today, especially with Lucid, is a little bit more of an overreaction. But of course, I am not a financial advisor. You guys always do your own due diligence. So 16.48% of the free float is being shorted. That works out to be 134.74 million shares overall. 2.51% is the cost to borrow average. So absolutely pennies. So when it came down to Lucid in the past, there's been plenty of instances where they could have had a very good squeeze. They just needed a good surprise. But unfortunately, that never really came. And with cost to borrow dropping as much as it did and utilization off that 100% mark, I do feel the likelihood of a massive squeeze in Lucid's case has kind of gone, unfortunately. But once again, that's just my own interpretation. Even in general, though, I do feel that a lot of investors who are in Lucid aren't in it for a squeeze anyways, but still, I'm bringing this up. As far as this, I'll give you guys a quick overview of what happened with options for Lucid. So just pulling this up. So for options for Lucid, there was a grand total of $2 million in call premiums that was done today versus 5.89 million in puts. So clearly, even though it is in obviously the low sixes right now, people are still anticipating for it to continue to trend down. And for instance, looking at this grid right here, this only shows all the calls. This is the strike prices, the expiry dates, everything that you need to know. It does show that in reality, 650 is anticipated in the next couple weeks. But when it comes down to options activity, it is just merely a sentiment, not necessarily going to be moving the stock price by any means. And looking here, so these are all the transactions that did occur today on the secondary market over $100,000. So you see 1.51 million, 8.13 million, a lot of individual transactions, but those are the two big ones that do stand out. Do also anticipate this week, or probably early next week, near the end of the quarter, a lot more volatility when it comes down to institutions as they rebalance their portfolios. Especially Lucid has a huge amount of presence in a lot of ETFs and mutual funds and whatever, so forth. So anticipate a lot more volatility in the coming days when it comes down to that. And of course, Morningstar just recently updated their fair market value for Lucid, on which they do have $8.71 as the fair market value. So once again, make sure you guys do your own due diligence at the end of the day, because behind the scenes, a lot of people could interpret the price for Lucid right now being at a pretty substantial discount, because Q2 is almost done. So that means they'll be having their earnings fairly soon as well, in the maybe about a month and a half, 2 months from now. And based on especially Bear's Workshop, there's been a huge amount of vehicles being delivered. So that of course might make Q2 look fairly good. And this is exactly showing, and once again, like I've mentioned in the past, confirming what Lucid said they're going to be doing so far in 2023 has happened. So of course, I think that might be a fairly good thing. But a lot of people want to know now, what is coming next for Lucid? So for instance, looking at Stochastic, it is at 16, so a little bit more of a oversold status, but there is a bearish sentiment, so red line above the black. So of course there's that going for it. Number of retail investors have just been getting out ever since that 3 billion dilution was announced. So clearly the sentiment just isn't there, unfortunately. And when it comes down to it, with it being at 605, obviously 609 after hours, as you can see right here, when it comes and gets close to $5, that is going to be a very, very interesting case, because Lucid has a huge amount of institutional presence since the get-go, basically 2021. But at that same time, if a stock does get below, I think it's 10 consecutive days below that $5 mark, this is where hypothetically it does turn and is considered a penny stock. So a lot of institutions can't hold, for instance, penny stocks in certain types of accounts. So trust accounts can't hold it on margin. So you might have a lot more volatility at that stage. So this is why sometimes, similar to what happened with SoFi, they do enact a reverse stock split. So at least they have that in their back pocket in case Lucid ever does get close to, or whatever stock it gets close to that $5 mark. So just anticipate that coming potentially. And over and above that though, looking at some of the fib levels, and just to give you a good overview of what might be coming. So looking at the 4-hour chart right now, with it being at 605, it is currently between this S3 and the S2, which in general is, like I mentioned at the very beginning, in comparison to a lot of similar stocks and a lot of other growth stocks, they have been hit very, very heavily. A lot of stocks, unfortunately, have been getting hit to between this range, so the S1 to the pivot, but Lucid has been, like I said, is currently between this S3 and the S2, so it is hit very hard. The next big support that you need to watch for is $5.96, and vice versa for resistance is $6.16. So once again, let me know you guys' thoughts on all of that in the comments below. Even though the $5 range is very dangerous for Lucid, I probably am going to be a buyer around the 580 range. My own opinion, of course, and just only because I do feel that at that price, it is just a huge screaming deal that, especially if you have a long-term time horizon like 2025 and so forth, that's like ideal. You cannot go wrong with that. And I do feel that most likely the PIF would try everything at all costs, whether it just be buying stocks on the open market, on the secondary market, just to raise Lucid above and not get close to that $5 mark. I just anticipate that potentially happening as well. But like I said, let me know you guys' thoughts on all of this in the comments below. Give yourself a shout out if you have been buying, selling, or what have you been doing over the last little bit. Give yourself a shout out in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. But one final thing I just wanted to share with you, even though Lucid is going up, down, sideways, all over the place, take advantage of free promos such as Mumu, link in the description below and also the comments. Sign up for a free account, you get 1 free stock. Each stock is valued up to $2,000. And as you can see, throw $100 at the account, you get 5 free stocks, plus you get $100 cash reward. So this legitimately is one of the best free promos out there, and this is only up until June the 30th, so a couple days left. So take advantage of this while you can. Link in the description below and also the comments. Without further ado, I appreciate you guys watching. Let's all make a lot of money on Lucid.